Unlocking Motivation, presented by Katie Salucci Paul. We're about to tackle one of the biggest challenges we all face, whether we're in a classroom, an office, or even just at home. Motivation. It's the engine that drives pretty much everything we do. But let's be honest, sometimes that engine just sputters out. Well, today, we're not just looking under the hood. We're going to give you a full toolkit to get it running smoothly again. And we'll start with a story that might sound a little too familiar. I want you to picture this, and I know I can because I lived it. I had this incredible fourth grade student, Justice. From day one, she was just lighting up the charts in my library's reading program. Perfect scores, reading books like there was no tomorrow. She was an absolute star, and then it felt like it happened overnight. The light just kind of went out. Hey, how about this one? A good friend of mine, Brittany, a fellow teacher and a super busy mom, was told by her doctor she needed to make some pretty serious lifestyle changes for her health. And she wanted to, and she knew it was important. But just looking at this mountain of a goal in front of her, on top of her already crazy life, she felt defeated before she even took a single step. Stories about Justice and Brittany, they're not just random. They are classic examples of the puzzle of human motivation that we all run into. And based on my personal experience helping them through it using some real psychological principles, I put together a toolkit. And that's what we're doing here today. I'm going to give you a set of proven practical strategies to prove these puzzles for your students, your team, or hey, maybe even yourself. So here's our game plan. Let's start by digging into why motivation fades in the first place, using Justice and Brittany stories. Then we'll walk through 4 solid strategies, each one backed to psychological theory and my own firsthand account experience. And we'll wrap it up together into a toolkit you can start using right away. All right, so when does motivation fade? To really get the solution, we have to get the problem. So let's take a closer look at what really was going on with Justice and Brittany. With Justice, there was an intense pressure from her family to be an academic superstar. And while for a while she thrived on it, racking up those perfect scores, but the second her perfect 100 slips to 80s and then down to failing grades, this really dangerous thought started to take root. She didn't just think she was doing badly, she started to believe she was bad at reading. That failure became a part of who she was. Now, Brittany's story was different. But that feeling was pretty similar. The goal of just lowering her blood pressure felt enormous. She'd look at her schedule, teaching, grad school, kids' sports, and she just couldn't see a path to success. The fear of failing, of looking incompetent while just trying to get healthy, it was so intense, that it completely paralyzed her, and she was just stuck. And that brings us to how we have to learn to rewrite the story of failure. The psychological tool for this is called Causal Attribution Theory. Yeah, it sounds a little academic, but trust me, the main idea behind it is incredibly powerful. So here's the main idea, and it's a big one. It's not the failure itself that crushes our motivation. It's the story we tell ourselves about why we failed. That story, that explanation, is what determines whether we give up or try again. It's the difference between saying, I failed because I'm not smart enough, and I failed because I used the wrong approach. See the difference? Justice's old story, her original story, was that she failed because of low ability. That is internal, stable, meaning it's fixed and it feels completely uncontrollable. I mean, that is the recipe for helplessness. Our goal was to help her write a new story that she failed because she used a poor strategy. This is still internal, but, and this is huge, it's unstable, meaning it can change. And most importantly, it's controllable. This is the core of our first strategy. When you blame failure on a fixed trait like ability, you lose all power. But when you tie it to something flexible like strategy, you get that control back. Suddenly, there's a lever you can pull, a new path you can try, and you're back in the driver's seat. So, how do you actually do this? I mean, it's one thing to understand the theory, but it's a whole nother to change someone's mindset. For justice, the big breakthrough came from our second strategy. One, we had literally changed the conversation, shifting the focus away from the final outcome and onto the learning process itself. Just think about it for a second. This is the question we all ask, right? As a teacher, a parent, a manager, what's your score? Did you close the deal? Did you hit your target? It's always about the final result. For justice, that one question was a source of massive pressure and anxiety. So I made a very simple, very deliberate change. I completely stopped asking about her score. Instead, I started asking questions like this one. What reading strategy did you use this time? Or tell me about the part of the story you could picture the best. The focus was no longer on the grade at all, but how she was engaging the process with the process of reading. And the effect was wow. It was immediately. You could see a visible weight just lift off her shoulders. She started talking about books again, about the characters, about the plot. And because the pressure was gone, her natural comprehension just came flooding back. And she even started reframing her own failures, saying things like, I think I just rushed, instead of I'm not smart enough. That tiny shift in language was everything. Now, let's circle back to Brittany, my friend who felt paralyzed with her health goal. Her problem wasn't about looking back at past failures, but about being terrified of a future one. This called for a totally different approach. This is our third strategy, changing the type of goal she was setting, moving her toward psychologists call a mastery approach goal. Brittany was trapped in a performance avoidance goal. Her entire focus was not looking like she was failing. That little voice in her head was just screaming, "Don't let me fail." And that mindset just packed with anxiety. And yeah, it often leads to doing absolutely nothing at all. We had to shift her to a mastery approach goal where the focus isn't on proving how good you are, but just on getting better. The question changes from don't fail to how can I improve, which is so much more empowering. So how did we do it? It down into these tiny manageable mastery goals. Instead of trying to overhaul her entire diet, we focused on just one thing, mastering the art of low sodium seasoning. It was a small, controllable process. It wasn't about passing or failing. It was about learning a new skill, and that small shift make all the difference. So this leads us right into our next strategy. Which might be the most practical one of all. So this leads us right into our final strategy, which might be the most practical one of all. Let's face it, life is messy. Obstacles are going to happen. Pure motivation isn't enough. You need a system. This is where something called volitional control comes in. It's basically about actively protecting your goals from the distractions and challenges life throws at you. One of the best tools for this is creating something called an implementation intention. It's just a simple if-then plan. You decide ahead of time. You identify a likely obstacle, a specific situation, and then you decide exactly what you will do when it happens. For Brittany, making this decision in advance removed all the stress and friction in the moment. It made the right choice the easy choice. If I feel stressed about finding a low sodium, that's our if. Then I will use the pre-selected salt-free seasoning. And you can do this for all sorts of hurdles you know are coming. Brittany knew she'd be short on time, so we planned for it. Driving her kids to practice wasn't a barrier anymore. It became a pre-planned opportunity for a walk. Feeling low on energy wasn't an excuse. Seeing an elevator became a pre-planned trigger to take the stairs instead. See, these aren't just goals, they're automated systems for success. So we've walked through these stories, these strategies. What does it mean for you? Through helping Justice and Brittany, I've seen with my own eyes how we can systematically unlock motivation. So now let's package it all up into a nice clean toolkit that you can apply in your own life. Here they are, the 4 keys to your motivational toolkit. 1. Help people rewrite the story of their failures. It's about strategy, not some fixed flaw. 2. Change the conversation. Focus on the process, not the final score. 3. Frame your goals around mastery and improvement, not just avoiding failure. And 4. Build those proactive if-then plans to navigate the obstacles you know are coming. I'll leave you with this question to carry with you. Think of a student, a colleague, a family member, maybe even yourself. What is one story of struggle or failure that you can help rewrite this week using these tools? Because sometimes it takes a small shift in perspective to change everything.